On the Plains of Deception is a short story written and published by Brendan DuBois. Copyrighted in 2011, it is available in Kindle ebook format at Amazon. The story describes an Apollo-like mission to Mars crewed with 3 astronauts. Similar to the Apollo missions to the Moon, the command module, named the Lowell, remains in orbit around Mars with 1 astronaut on board, while the other 2 astronauts land in the Mars landing module named the Intrepid. The action of the story focuses on the 2 astronauts on the surface, Dave Bronson and Susan Bryce, with the point of view centered on Dave, who is also the narrator. Intrepid is parked in the Promethei Terra, a high plains region of Mars, located in the southern hemisphere, just east of the giant crater Hellas. The 3rd astronaut, Rick Callahan, is on board the Lowell and only appears in the story as a disembodied voice. Near the beginning of the story, Dave has been doing an EVA, or extravehicular activity, on the surface, gathering rock samples, and has just returned to the Intrepid. Speaking to Susan, who is inside, he asks, "Susan, Dave here. I need to come in." "I'm sorry, Dave," Susan answers. "I'm afraid I can't do that." This humorous reference to a scene in 2001, A Space Odyssey, establishes from the beginning the good-natured relationship between the 2 astronauts. We also learn early on that, like Apollo, the mission has been a shoestring operation reduced by budgetary constraints to footprints and flag, rather than a full-blooded mission to stay long-term and do some serious research. And, because of the limited scale and lack of redundancy of the mission, an equipment failure on board the Intrepid has placed the 2 explorers in a life-threatening situation. During the course of Dave's narrative, he reveals that he is a colonel in the United States Air Force, the nephew of a geologist, a pilot, and that he attended the Air Force Academy. We also learn that Susan Bryce is the mission commander, a geologist, and a Navy pilot who flew F-18 aircraft. At the point where the narrative begins, she is shipbound, having broken her ankle during an earlier EVA. It is Susan who devises the both ingenious and unconventional solution to the dilemma they face as a result of the mechanical problem. This is not a long story as stories go, and I will allow the reader to experience the tale and its powerful emotional impact without further comment from me. It is well crafted and skillfully creates a believable world in a very short time. But despite the brevity of the narrative, just a few thousand words, Brendan DuBois does an excellent job of making us like and care about his characters. Beyond that, the story also has some instructive themes regarding spaceflight and the risks involved in approaching such a complex undertaking as a journey to Mars with insufficient resources. DuBois clearly believes, as do I, that any such mission needs to be large enough to have many redundancies. This would preclude the failure of any single system, endangering the success and the lives of the entire mission, such as occurred in his story. My own preference is to forego the return trip altogether and simply set up a permanent settlement, but that is a subject for another venue. Suffice it to say that I highly recommend this fine short story, which at 99 cents is a great buy.